It's finished here at Roots Hall, Southend Utd 2, Altrincham 1, with Phil Parkinson. Phil, obviously not the result that we wanted, but after what's been a very difficult period, I wonder if in that second half in particular there were signs of us getting back to ourselves and what we want to see.
Yeah, I'm really pleased you picked up on that, Laurence. First half, they were outstanding. We've scored against the run of play with a breakaway. Chris, excellent finish. I think we had a couple of counter-attacks, but nothing major. I feared the worst with how good Southend were. I've got to give them a lot of credit. I know I sound like a broken record saying it, but we're playing good teams away from home. These are no mugs. These are a very good outfit. And our lads couldn't quite stand up to the pressure, conceded too close together again at the end of the half. A bit of an Achilles heel at the moment. But I tell you what, the second half, the gumption they showed, the resilience to come back, because they looked dead and buried there, because they were very, very good and we didn't roll over. We played our way, which we looked like we were scared to do in the first half. I could hear shouts of have a go at them. I thought we did in the second half. I felt we really had a go, but you're not going to pepper Southend. You're away from home. You're gonna try and control a bit of the game. You're going to try and create attacks. And I thought we did that. And at the end there, I know it's a bit of a long range, but that's what Dan Mooney's good at. I just thought was it his day to get that. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be for him. But listen, I saw enough, as you've alluded to there in the second half, to see them green shoots of recovery.
We've obviously had a difficult period in terms of results, but also in terms of the squad. Lewis Banks not involved today. Regan Linney was on the bench, but I don't know whether he was a realistic substitute, as it were. What can you tell us about the situation with those two?
Yeah, we've been thin. At the moment, we're having that period that other teams have had, but we've had 2 weeks of mega away travel as well, and sitting on a bus for however many hours we've done is obviously wreaking havoc with certain players' bodies. I know people will say, well, why are they on the bench? Because we've got no one else. That's why they're on the bench. So Regan, we could have forced it, we could have played him, and then he pulls up, and what use is that? We're trying to be really careful. We know where we're up to. We know we're in a difficult period in terms of results, but we're also in a difficult period of away. It's always hard away from home. The one that's a kick in the teeth is Maidenhead at home. That was the one where we should have got a result. We didn't. That's football. Sometimes it happens. But I've stood in front of you, Brian, so many times this season, and the teams that have beat us are good teams. Do you know what I mean? It's difficult. So as long as we get our home form up and running, which I'm confident we will, and we do pick some points up on the road, which will be tough, then we'll be absolutely fine. I know it doesn't feel that way at the moment. I look back at Grimsby when they got promoted. Exactly the same thing happened. They were in the playoffs all the way through to this period, dropped out. I was speaking to Joey Jones about it the other day, funnily enough. I think they lost about 4 or 5, if not more. And then they went again, and we will go again. We'll have players coming back in the next week or so, players who we've protected a little bit. I mean, it's a bit worrying when you're seeing Isaac hobbling around there, but hopefully it's not too bad. That's why we brought him off. Chris, I tell you what, very little protection, just kicked all over the park. But ultimately, he's going to get that attention because of the way he carries the ball. But the point I'm trying to make here is we've tried to be very careful with the likes of Justin Amaluza, the likes of Ethan Ross. We haven't rushed them back because we know it could benefit us now short term with these games that we've had, but it's going to help us more come the back end and right now if the half fit. So hopefully, if we've played our cards right, we'll have a stronger squad going into the last 10 games than forcing it in these games now and then losing them for the rest of it.
You've touched on the fact that in the first half, Southend were definitely the better side, and particularly they seemed to threaten down their left-hand side and our right-hand side. And obviously that's where we, I guess, missed Lewis Banks particularly today. And it's I don't know if I called this right. I thought initially with thinking that George Wilson would play as the right wing back and maybe switch with Isaac Marriott, but it's saying something that we've got Isaac out in that sort of position, and not a familiar position for him. I remember you playing Josh Lundstrom in that sort of position, but he had a bit more experience of playing there. But I guess that gives us sort of indication of the fact that we're stretched if we've got Isaac in such an unfamiliar position.
Absolutely, but he played there, I think it was Halifax, where we did put George there initially. And then Isaac was more comfortable there than George. But what you've got to remember is the reason they got so much joy down there is Bridges, one of the best wing backs in the division, and he was on it tonight. We kept him quiet at our place, but tonight he was very good in the first half. And Fonguk as well was making great runs in behind, which was testing George. But I felt once George got to grips with him, the lad got subbed off. So he was very good in the first half. And then George, what an experience this is for George Wilson. Not that our fans want to hear that, but he's just like last season where everyone was questioning a number of the players. Are they good enough? He's such a young player. He's going to come on leaps and bounds with that. I mean, you look at Southend, they've got players returning to fitness. They looked fitter and stronger than us in the first half, but then our lads will get a lot out of the games that they're getting, and then with the players returning, the lads are getting the minutes in the legs that we're obviously going to need going into the back end, and that's why I'm feeling fairly confident that we will turn things round sooner rather than later.
Because it was a bit of an unfamiliar formation, I wonder as well if you may have found a few sort of different possibilities. I thought Alex Newby, for me, has been a little bit quiet in recent games. I thought playing in a more central role was really involved and linked up well, and was actually as effective as he's been for a few games. So sometimes with unfamiliar formations, you can find a few, not a surprise to you, but a few things that might work.
No, absolutely. We know Alex is more than accomplished in the 10. And him and Chris rotate in there brilliantly at times. But yeah, you're right, Alex has been quiet for a couple of games, but a number of them have as well. And as I said, with the green shoots, I thought Alex was a big positive tonight, because he's the one who will link the play up. He's the reliable one on the ball. He's the one who will find the key passes, the key spaces, and he works his socks off as well. So yeah, I was really down after Maidenhead, I'm not going to lie to you, but after that one, I'm obviously disappointed with the result. But I knew it would be a massive ask for us to. I would have took a draw at the start of the day with what we could field. But ultimately, the lads have travelled on the day, which is what it is. Other teams will have to do it as well. And I think they've acquitted themselves, particularly the second half after the first half pressure that they were under really. And we were in it right to the end. We didn't let it go 3-4. We kept it tight. And like I say, another day, we're not conceding that 1 then 2, and that won't continue. That will stop at some point. It's just at the moment we're in that moment of time, and as I've said so many times, we've been here before. We will turn it round. The fact, by the way, I must say about the travelling fans, they didn't get off at the end. They weren't frustrated. I know they are frustrated and disappointed, but ultimately that means a lot to the players. And just as they were Saturday, that shows what this club's all about. They were absolutely phenomenal. I just want to say thank you again, and we will get it right, I promise you.
Yeah, one of the things that one of the reasons behind our improvement this season generally compared to recent seasons is when we have been on poor runs, we've been able to break them pretty quickly. It's not been as quick this time, but it means that the next game, another difficult game, not so far from here, just down the road, if we can break the losing run on Saturday, that would mean an enormous amount going into the 3 home games following.
Absolutely. At some point, the home form's got to turn in terms of results. If we can take some of that form into Saturday, then I'm sure we'll be able to get something, absolutely. But as I've said to you, we've been stung by the fixtures in terms of the amount of away travel. We've had people say he's making excuses. I'm not. It's a fact. It's difficult. It's really, really hard. I don't care what anyone says about full-time, part-time. To travel down south as many times as we have in 2 weeks, not just down south, obviously Hartlepool as well, is a huge ask for lads to then go and perform. I felt tonight we should have got a draw on the second half performance. They were very good first half, but I thought we more than competed and posed more than enough of a threat. Just as they didn't pepper our goal, we didn't pepper theirs, but there was enough in the game to suggest that was an away draw. And then the Hartlepool one should have been a draw. We weren't good enough at Aldershot. We weren't great against Maidenhead, so we're in that moment. But if we can just get over the line in a few of these away fixtures, pick up a few points on the road. I mean, Southend, we beat them, they beat us. If we could have got a draw, they'll be the same in terms of at our place. Could they have got a draw? That's just how football goes. We've had a really tough period of fixtures. We'll hopefully have lads coming back sooner rather than later. And when we do, going into that last 10 games will be vital for us to pick up some kind of form, some kind of run. And then hopefully, if we can do that, we'll get in them playoffs.